Welcome to Books and Beer, Holiday Edition! Yeah! Today we are at Straight to Ale, and they have given us a sample of Unobtanium, which is aged in bourbon barrels, and it's delicious and dark, and you can taste the bourbon barrel.
Yes.
It tastes, it's great. It has a sweetness to it too, very like molassesy.
Yes.
I highly suggest it. It is high gravity, so this is one of those perfect beers for if you need something to take like family time edge off. Like this is a great beer to take home, in my humble opinion. I also like that the website says you can pair beef or lamb with it. I'm just like, yes, of course you can pair beef or lamb with it. But it's very good. So we're gonna do some Christmassy type books today to go with our Unobtanium and our beef and lamb Christmas dinner beer. I'm gonna go first this time. I'm gonna hijack going first because I have this book called The Autobiography of Santa Claus as told to Jeff Guin. I think it's Guin. I have been raving about this book for at least a month to anyone who will listen long enough. And Lauren's nodding her head like, yes, she has been.
So many of us at the library have read it this month because you recommended it.
It's so good. I read it on audiobook. I listened to it on audiobook. The acting is really well done. It's on Hoopla, so it's pretty easy to get it from home as long as there's not a line. But I like it. It is kind of pseudo-autobiography because it's told from an autobiographical perspective, but it is Santa Claus, so there's a lot of fantasy and magic and illusion thrown in, and they do take the time to explain the difference between magic and illusion. There's an entire chapter devoted to that. But what I really like about it is it actually explains the cultural development of Christmas as a holiday. So it goes from about 300 AD when Father Christmas was born, and it goes through Roman Empire and how the Roman Empire changed vast continent into towards different religious beliefs, and then Constantine coming in and Charlemagne. It's great from a historical perspective. And what I really like about it is it talks about economical and political influences on how Christmas became the holiday it is today. And it does it from different points of like different countries. So they spend a significant amount of time in Germany, and they spend a significant amount of time in the colonies, the British colonies, aka us. But yeah, so I highly suggest this book. It was a fairly fast read if you get hooked into it. And like I said, the voice acting was just really phenomenal. There was never really a point where I had tuned it out. It kept me pretty interested the entire time. It's great.
It sounds like a Christmas book for someone who wants something they can think.
Yes.
Not just entertaining, but actually something thought-provoking.
Yeah, it really is. It really appealed to my inner historian.
Yeah.
Again, I think it's probably why I liked it. But it's excellent. It is something that you could probably hand to kids and say, you want to know who Santa Claus is. Maybe the magic's running off a little bit, but you want to know who Santa is? Here is this entire book as told from Santa.
That's wonderful.
It's great. Speaking of Santa, we have a book called Hogfather. It's by Terry Pratchett. My husband has been begging me for years to read this book, and I finally did it because I was like, fine, I have a reason to read this book. And it's one of those books where I was like, I don't like the cover. And I know that's not a good reason to not read a book.
Isn't there an expression about that?
Yeah, there's an entire expression about that. But I finally read this book, and I was like, fine, I'll read it. It's excellent. Terry Pratchett is an amazing world builder. He is a masterful writer. And unfortunately, he passed away a few years ago, so we don't really get new work by him. But his Discworld books, which Hogfather is from, it's like 20 books deep. So you have a lot to chew on if you want to dive into Discworld, which is the world he created. Anyway, Hogfather. Hogfather is the Santa Claus figure in Discworld. And he presides over Hogswatch, which is the Christmas holiday in Discworld. And what happens is the Assassin's Guild, there's a guild for everything in Discworld, including assassins and tooth fairies and a whole bunch of other things. An assassin is hired to take out the Hogfather, and no one really is told what happens with this on the front end. But another character in the world, Death, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a skeleton in a cloak with a scythe. He discovers that Hogfather is gone, but he doesn't want the world to stop believing, so Death steps into the Hogfather role with, he has to learn how to, say ho, 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 and his little helper Albert's like, that's not cheery enough, and he goes, ho, ho, ho. It's a really, for as dark as it is, and it is dark, it's a very funny. Terry Pratchett is great with wit, so I highly suggest Hogfather. A lot happens with Death trying to play the role of Hogfather, including like crashing a department store Santa lap sitting thing, and the kids are all just like,
wait a second.
And Death also believes that economics shouldn't be involved in Hog's Watch, so he, even though the department store is like, we're trying to sell toys here, he's just like creating toys out of midair because he believes all these kids should get what they want. And it's a really lovely book. I highly suggest it. I'll stop going on because I'll do it for an hour. Hog's Watch is great. I highly suggest it. My last one. Oh, Krampus. If you need something to offset all the holiday cheer, and I know some people will, because sometimes you just really need to have that opposite end of things at Christmas time. I highly suggest Krampus, and I have here the graphic novel written by Michael Dougherty and some other various artists, but Michael Dougherty is the one who made the movie a couple years ago. After the movie, he was just like, I really want to make a graphic novel, so we got a bunch of writers and illustrators together and produced this. And I have to say, I had the privilege of being the very first person in the library to read this, because I went to our youth services librarian and said, do we have this? He says, no, but let me buy it for you, and we'll donate it to the library. So you could be the second book.
John's
the person to
awesome.
get the book.
John's awesome.
John is great. Do you want to explain who Krampus is?
Yes. So I lived in Austria for a while, and Krampus is mainly Bavarian, Austrian kind of folklore around Christmas time. In the German Christmas, they celebrate Santa Claus or St. Nicholas on December 6th, where December 5th is Krampusnacht. And Krampus, they have a parade, and when I say parade, don't think that you had a bunch of 15-year-olds stuffing pom-poms. These outfits are like Hollywood quality. It's insane how realistic these outfits look. And the men wear them, and they carry whips and chains, and sometimes they pull their children in little wagons behind them too. It's weird. It's fun. It's lots of fun.
I guess if you grow up with it.
But they pull the women out of the audience and hit them. And that's how the parades were in Austria. The parade I went to. The story behind it, though, is that if you're good, Santa brings you toys. If you're bad, Krampus comes, takes you out of your bed, and eats you. So, yeah, it's very German.
It's very, very German.
But it's wonderful. I love it.
Now that you know what that's about, this graphic novel has 3 or 4 separate stories in it. They all look separate until you get to the very end where a story ties it all together with a bow and how they're very loosely linked together. It's beautifully illustrated, horrifying, but beautifully illustrated. And if you need just like some other side of Christmas cheer or some other cultural perspective on holiday icons, this would be a great book for you. So it's, again, a graphic novel.
And the movie's good. The movie.
Oh, see, I never saw the movie. I was just like, that looks scary. I'm not going to do that.
It is very scary. My children are like, no, we're not watching Krampus again, Mom.
Again?
Oh, we watch it every year.
Of course we do. That sounds exactly
This year we did.
right.
But yeah. No, we watch it every year.
But anyway, those are my picks. What you got?
Well, I'm going to start off. You ended on a down note. I'm starting on a down note. I'm going to build back up. And I say down note. Fredrik Backman, amazing author. If you've never read his works before, please do. He's wonderful. He wrote A Man Called Ove. He wrote Beartown, Us Versus Them. He's just phenomenal. This is actually on overdrive. That's the only copy we have. It's an audiobook. It is the story in itself is about 40 minutes long. I think there's 5 minutes where Backman kind of just writes an intro to it, but it's a very short story. It's one of those stories where you can discuss it with your family at Christmas. There's a lot of people who probably be like, oh yeah, I've read Fredrik Backman, I want to read that. Go ahead and warn you, it deals with sick kids, so keep that in mind who you recommend it to, because I think I almost cried like 6 times in 40 minutes.
Going from a demon being to sick kids. This is a wonderful episode.
I know. It's so great though. I have nothing to compare the story to. I've never read anything like this. But it got me thinking in that bittersweet Christmas story that we've come to love with, like, It's a Wonderful Life. Mm-hmm. Where it brings you down just to bring you back up again. Now, if Jimmy Stewart's character had nothing to live for, this is pretty much how this book would go. But, I mean, in the end he did, so it ended happy. But this one, I'm not going to tell you how it ends, but it definitely has that bittersweet Christmas story to it. It is worth checking out, listening to. 40 minutes is nothing. You can listen to that on the way to somebody's house. It's so well written. I can't recommend it highly enough. And it's been around for a few years, so I think it was published in 2017. So if you can't get it on overdrive, I'm sure you can find it in places. So. But my next one, J.R.R. Tolkien wrote letters being Santa Claus to his children.
Aww.
His little boys would write to Santa, and he would write back as Santa. And this I got off Hoopla, and the beautiful thing on Hoopla is it not only shows you the original letters he wrote back, but he also illustrated these letters, and then it types out the letters so you don't have to try and read his handwriting. But it is so beautiful. It starts off very short letters. The first few ones are just very endearing. You can tell his boys are little. And then as it goes on, it's like the polar bear takes over one Christmas and writes back to the boys because Santa's busy. And so he's introducing these characters that only he can do. He is such a wonderful storyteller.
It's another wonderful, masterful writer.
Exactly, and to be a dad, like this is like parenting goals right here. I mean, if we can all write like J.R.R. Tolkien, parenting goals right here. But I mean, you can tell there's so much love put into this every year. Yeah. It was addressed to his boys with his home address on it. He took such care in every detail. It's one of those books where you don't have to feel like you have to finish it, or because they're letters and it goes on for like 20 years, you can stop and start a bunch. Mm-hmm. You don't just sit there and read. But you can, stop and pick up another book and read it, and then have a little break and read a few letters. It's great. It's a really great checkout. If you have kids, this is something you can share with them. I'd say like preteens when they're getting into The Hobbit, stuff like that, because the world he builds is really cute at the North Pole. So, yeah, and there's pictures. I like the pictures. So, all right. I really like Christina Lauren, and it's actually best friends who write together, Christina and Lauren. If anybody's read them, that's how they get their name. This is their latest one, in a Holidaze, and it is just like how, I would say it's very standard to how they usually write. But this one I really liked because it's kind of like if Groundhog's Day was a Christmas movie or a Christmas book. So she relives the same holiday over and over until she can get it right. But she doesn't know what she's trying to get right. Mm. So it kind of has this love triangle in there too. It's a lot about family. It's a lot about, like just seeing where you are in life. It's a cute read. I read the book, but then there was a wait list for it last month, so I couldn't keep it. So that's why, but I think we also have it on Hoopla too. But yeah, that's why I couldn't bring the original book in. But it is a fun read. It is endearing. And yeah, so after reading all this where you cry a lot and you're scared to go to sleep, this is a nice one to wrap up this.
Great one.
So, yeah, and it's very Christmassy, just like the beer. It's very, very good for a cold.
And if you drink enough of it, you'll be in a Holidaze.
Holidaze, yes, ma'am.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you to Straight to Ale one more time, and we look forward to coming back in the future. Hopefully, we'll see y'all again at STA. And don't forget to go subscribe to the library's YouTube channel, and we'll see you next time.